Greetings to the best family on YouTube. Well, in our opinion here at Carrierbury, at least, our EDC family. I'm your host, Prophet. With me, as always, is the Professor. And again, we thank you for joining us for another EDC video. And would you know it, it's a knife video. So we actually have another first for you folks today. You know, EDC family, one of the neat things about starting a YouTube channel is you get a lot of firsts in your days. Today's first is super special though. It signifies not only a unique tool that not only YouTube can give you, but the love of the EDC world and the cool portion that our new world gives you with instant communication. What do you mean, Prophet? Well, guess what? We have a subscriber that emailed us and stated that he was going to be in Minnesota visiting his family from Florida. And he had a couple questions specifically about the Winterblade knives. Well, after a bit of talking, we kind of became friends, and if luck would have it, right, he's now here today in studio on the compound. And guess what? We're actually going to have a pretty special gift for him at the end of the episode. But EDC family, let's not give anything away, right? But he is in studio with me right now. Hey, Brandon from Florida, say hello to the EDC family.
Hello, EDC family, and Prophet and the Professor.
Hey, Brandon, how are you doing?
Doing fantastic.
Let me ask you something. How's the weather in Florida?
It's a little warm.
Okay, a little warm?
What was warm, little humid. 96 when I left, about 90% humidity.
How does it feel in Minnesota compared to Florida?
Nice and cool. Actually, got a little chilly last night when I went to sleep.
Now that's definitely something. I got to ask, because we always like to ask this question when we have guests here. What do you think of our little English bulldog, Chaos?
He's very affectionate, very happy, loves to chase that ball.
Awesome, man. Yeah, no, that's definitely our little Chaos. You know, Brandon, I got to ask, because we do like to get this question asked when people are visiting. Are you carrying anything? I know that you had to take an airplane here to Minnesota, but were you able to get a knife here or anything?
I did. I checked my bag just so I could carry a knife with me.
All right, what do you got?
It's a cheapie, but a goodie. It's
okay.
A Gerber fuse.
Oh, it's so funny. I don't know if you watched our episode about Menards, but we purchased a fuse and it's actually going to start testing soon. May I see yours?
Absolutely.
There's your hand. There we go. Go ahead and open it for the EDC family. Don't be nervous.
Nah, it's a little stiff because I don't use it very often.
Is this the one that you carry for budget purposes?
This is
May I?
Yeah, absolutely. It is one I carry just so if it gets damaged, if I lose it, if I drop it in the water, drop it in the lake, I'm not out anything, you know. So it's nice for opening boxes if I need to scrape something off at work. It's just a great all-around disposable type knife, if you want to call it disposable, because I'm not worried about losing it.
Perfect. I gotta ask then. That's cool, and ours is even in this color, so it's interesting. I wonder if that's the only color that they sell. I gotta ask another question. Do you have any other pocket stuff on you? Pocket pieces? Do you carry a flashlight?
So not on me.
Okay.
I do sometimes carry a flashlight for work.
Sure.
But
what's this?
do have a pocket piece, not necessarily a pocket piece, but it's for my belt buckle. This is a 1890.
Oh, wow.
Morgan silver dollar.
May I?
Yeah, absolutely. And I do have several of those, but that's just my oldest one, so I like to keep that in there.
That is fantastic. So what a way to carry your pocket piece or your luck piece. Morgan dollar, can't go wrong with that. Cool belt buckle. That's pretty neat. Thanks for sharing that with us, Brandon. Well, I guess I made you do your pocket check, right? So I might as well do mine. EDC family, as always, I carry a main blade. This is what I've been carrying today around the compound. This is the Grimsmo Norseman. I believe this is number 1399, but I'd have to get back to you on that. This will be on a full Carrierbury episode very soon. This particular one is in a bluish purple gold honeycomb variant. It's one of the older Grimsmo Norsemans, but we will definitely have that on the channel very soon. For my secondary, I actually always like to carry the Grimsmo Saga when I'm carrying a Norseman as my pen. This is a fantastic EDC pen of titanium, and the color scheme is kind of purple gold, like the Minnesota Vikings here in Minnesota. And for my little kind of, old timer knife today, I am carrying this little guy here. This is definitely one of my favorites. It's a C riser knife. I believe this one's the Ohio Jack or the Ohio River Jack, something like that, in M390 titanium bolsters with green micarta. So this was my little slip joint backup. Fantastic walk and talk on it. And I, as you know, or you've gotten to know, I suppose, Brandon, I love carrying pocket pieces around. And my pocket piece is unlike your Morgan. It's close. It's the next coin in line. I've got a peace dollar. So I've got my peace dollar here that I'm carrying. It's my lucky pocket piece today, folks. There's that. There's that. Get both cameras in there. And for my flashlight, which I haven't had to use today, but I carry this in the daytime because of the laser pointer, I am again carrying the Arcfield Pro. Those who watch this channel a lot, you guys probably know that I use this one quite a bit. It is definitely one of my go-to flashlights, Arcfield Pro by Olight. Again, none of these are sponsored items. We buy these at the compound with our own money. And I think we're kind of getting carried away here. So Brandon, normally in our videos right now, what I do is introduce the knife of the week. The knife of the week, folks, is the Winterblade Mirage. Oh no, where is it? I gotta be honest, this is kind of scary. Oh, there it is. Just kidding, EDC family. I'm not gonna lose a beautiful knife like this. Let me introduce you to the Winterblade Mirage. Now, it's always things work out sometimes in the end. And Brandon, when we first talked, you were asking me questions about the Factor. And then more recently, we talked about another Winterblade new product that we just did an unboxing on. And that would be this little guy right here, the Severn. And so you had some questions on Winterblade and went to their website. You weren't really finding anything to buy right now. And that's okay. It's kind of one of those things that can be frustrating, but you've got a small time shop that Brian's running over there and he's doing his best to get these things out. We've talked about that on the channel, but today we are talking about the Mirage. So the Winterblade Mirage, this knife will be materializing in a desert near you, EDC family. Just kidding. Brandon's kind of giggling next to me, but the batch 1, the new release for these is going to be coming out on Winterblade's website. There's going to be a lot of different variations on this. So please go to winterbladeco.com for a closer look at the options and color variations of the very soon to market Mirage. Now, since batch 1 is coming soon, and this is going to give a lot of you an opportunity to pick one of these guys up, what we're going to have for you is our full review today, because I've been blessed enough to own this one for a while. I did pay for this knife, but I was blessed to get it early. And what I'm going to do is I am going to do the full Carry or Bury review on the Mirage with Brandon in studio today. So we do look forward to the big release where this is going to be an option for everyone out there in the EDC world, if you can click fast enough. But in the meantime, let's talk about the Mirage and let's kind of go over some of our wonderful things on it. Now, I could keep going happily forever on the Mirage, what it means, but I'm actually afraid that an actual desert will come and we'll get a sandstorm here in the studio, and Brandon and I will need to get freed without finding a Mirage or realizing if there is a real or not real Mirage. Also, we're pretty sure the professor will feed a scorpion to me. Again. Now he hasn't done that, but quick fun fact, I have eaten a scorpion, EDC family, while I was staying in China. That story's for another time. I tell you, if we can get to maybe, I don't know, 500 likes on one of our videos soon, I will tell you the whole story.
That sounds gross.
Yeah, you're not wrong, Brandon. That was pretty gross. So let's continue more into our next 3 segments. The first of which we lovingly call Knowledge is King. That section is the first section after our greeting, which will be followed by the professor's particulars section, and then finally our comparison portion of our content. When that is over, we will be ready to play our Carry or Bury game. But you may not have time to stick around for that. Folks, we get it, which is why we give you a relief from the desert heat. Huh? Get it? Mirage, desert heat? Okay, I digress. But it may be time for you to take an escape, right? Which we call our portal, right? And then thus you can take the portal's timestamp somewhere that Professor will put up on the screen after the portal is there, and we will see you again for the Carrier Berry game. Okay, EDC family, feel free to take our channel's Professor Portal soon because the timestamp's going to be coming up, but don't worry, it's not a mirage, right? It's a real portal. You can jump right into it, okay? But I think Brandon can actually tell you it's safe, but maybe he won't, maybe he will, but he did take a quick ride earlier in the real life portal just to see how it works. Matter of fact, Brandon, why don't you turn on the portal today? It's that big switch right over there that says caution, danger, do not touch, electrocution, high voltage, do not touch.
I don't want to.
Come on. You took the portal earlier, it's just the switch.
But Prophet, your hands look swollen.
My hands look swollen?
Yes.
I'm going to be honest. I guess I do say my hands are big all the time. You know what? All right, fair enough. Let's say I will flip the switch, and then once I do, you and I will just tell everybody in unison to take the Professor's Portal. Sound good?
Yes.
All right.
Professor's Portal!
Pretty cool, huh, Brandon?
Absolutely. Indubitably.
Indubitably. You know, Brandon, we've had some great responses on the channel from my granny's sayings, if you will. Would you like to hear one of her sayings today in person?
Sure, I'd love those.
Okay, I think we can do that. All right. Now, remember earlier, Brandon, a few seconds ago when you didn't want to push the portal lever? It reminds me of a saying of hers. You can lead a horse to water, but it's never going to be dumb enough to pay $1.99 for it. God bless my granny.
That was a little off.
That's what they all are. I appreciate that, Brandon. All right. So the EDC family has had plenty of time to jump through the portal, so we'll see them soon, and we'll catch them up a little bit later in time for the game. For those of you staying, thank you so much. Let's get into learning together. So, Brandon, let me give you and the EDC family some information straight from the source, which is Brian Winters of Winterblade and winterbladeco.com. I suppose I should start with that, huh?
Absolutely.
So first and foremost, Brandon, I don't know if you know this, but how you actually say Winterblade is just Winterblade. It's all one word. A lot of folks think there's a space, that they're separated, but there's not. Now, sometimes the co can get in there and get people confused, but really what that co is that is really actually just their website. So again, Winterblade is simply just Winterblade, one word, kind of like Microtech or kind of like Benchmade. And the website is winterbladeco.com, all one word. Now, that's pretty easy, huh?
Yeah, I think I can remember that one.
You are so nervous. I love it. Let's hear directly from Brian Winters, the founder and president CEO of Winterblade. And when I say that, I don't mean Brian's here on the compound, but I did email Brian and we kind of asked some questions on how everything started. And he was kind enough to give me some of his time, which honestly, I gotta say, a little bit of a disclosure. The more I get to know this man, it's really hard not to like him and root for him. I mean, honestly, he's a fantastic human being. At any rate, I digress. As usual, Winterblade started out very organically, okay? And it's not really something that Brian had planned. So very early on, he was doing custom factors. And if you don't remember our video on the factor, this is the B2 or the batch 2 of the factor, which came after prototyping and the first batch, and there were some variations made on this knife. And I got my hands on one of these after really trying for a long time to get my hands on a factor. I digress again. So like I was saying, it wasn't something that he planned. He started making his factors. He started posting pics on Instagram, which unlike me or Professor, Brian's very good on Instagram. I digress again. In 2019, through Instagram, sharing through there and word of mouth, he steadily grew his Instagram page. Pretty cool. So over time, he started getting a lot of requests for the factor, okay? and then other designs that he started posting. Far, far more than he could ever build himself, obviously, as just a guy in his garage in his house. So then in 2021, he decided to turn Winterblade into a full-on business, but focusing on design, prototyping, and production instead of doing the one-off customs. And honestly, I get this because I'm like a lot of people out there that wanted to get their hands on one of these and couldn't. So thank God he decided to go that route. I'm just saying. So from that point forward, Brian's process has basically been the following: doing a ton, and I mean a ton, of knife designs, which this part he actually really does love. He basically eats, sleeps, and breathes knife design and mechanical design in general. He doesn't have a formal background in engineering or design. His actual background is in, get this, online marketing software design. Pretty crazy, right? However, he's been building and designing things on his own, not part of any formal job since he was just a young man, maybe even a kid. And he did all that for fun. Here's a couple examples. When Brian was around 7 or 8, he was making mini nunchucks that he called knuckle busters. He started selling them to friends and classmates. When he was 13, he used an antique Ford induction coil to make a handheld shocking gun, which basically is a homemade stun gun. And yes, he did accidentally shock himself. Then in his late teens, he made an auto-retracting guitar / instrument chord device. So Brian's been a bass player for a long time, probably since his mid-teens, and he decided to build one of these, right? Because nothing was on the market. And guess what? It worked really well. And we actually have a little bit more of that bass story when it comes to him naming his newest knife, the Severn, is actually named after a bass instrument. And I'll digress on that, but please feel free to check out our first impressions or box opening on the Severn when you have some time. At any rate, Brian was also heavily into RC cars and racing throughout his teens. He would wind his own electric motors, he'd build his own carbon fiber chassis and other car parts. Honestly, guys, the list goes on and on. But that sort of natural love for design and building is where he most likely got his experience for Winterblade and where it all came from, because it sure didn't come from software design, right? Oh yes, and he also made knives in his teens, including a real-life Freddy Krueger claw set with steel blades, pivoting brass finger joints, leather gloves, and all. He used to terrorize the bushes in his backyard. He literally had to build the glove on the sly because when his parents were home, he was afraid they wouldn't appreciate him making Nightmare on Elm Street claws, right? Shh, by the way, EDC family, that is a secret. To this day, they still don't know. So please do not tell Mr. Winterblade's parents. I digress. So from then on, Brian did his own prototyping because he loves prototyping. It really enables him to keep his machining and knife making skills sharp. Get it? Sharp. You can't really go wrong with that, can you? Right. I digress again. But it also helps him become a better designer, gives him hands-on looks at mechanisms and ideas, because sometimes things just on paper don't always make sense. So you could really call it knife-making symbiosis, right? And both things help to sustain one another. Furthermore, sending his favorite prototypes and the favorites of a lot of the Instagram followers that he has on Instagram and fans of his work to third-party OEMs, such as the wonderful OEM Bestech, which I've had nothing but good experience with, to have them actually produced. So what about the Mirage, huh? So I'm going to read you a little bit about the Mirage directly from his website, okay? They have this to say about it. Brian states, or the website states, if you only have one word to describe the new Winterblade Mirage, it would be smooth, thanks to its unique magnetic inner workings, okay? And EDC family, it's hard to see that on this knife, but this knife is running with magnets throughout the knife. I've got a little guy here, whoops. You can kind of see it's got a lot of want to be in a lot of places on this guy, especially in the pivot area and in the back locking areas and in the what Brian calls the M-lock. And basically, It locks up solid because of the M-lock, the same battle-tested magnet-driven lock that they use in, well, the Factor. So it's got the same locking mechanism, right? Well, let's take a peek closer at some of this stuff. But in the case of the Mirage, the M-lock doubles as a super smooth medium strength detent. This actually helps keep the blade securely closed. I mean, super securely closed, folks. Especially while it's in your pocket, which, as you know, is super important. Although you may not think of it by looking at it, this knife is actually super beefy. Its full spine, okay, is actually polished steel backspacer, doubles as the blade stop, and is mounted and reinforced with three shouldered stop pins. This then is coupled with an oversized 1/4 inch diameter pivot barrel and large 1/2 inch diameter thrust bearings. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Needless to say, the Mirage will easily handle whatever amount of cutting force you put into it. And we've actually tested that on the compound. We've got some footage for you. But it is far more than is ever needed. It is very overbuilt and fun and fidgety, but we'll talk about those in the game, right? But Winterblade is confident that the Mirage will quickly become a rare standout in your knife collection. It's a pretty bold statement. We'll have to see if that's going to spell out in the end, okay? Now, here's a quick note. We talked a lot about Brian's Instagram channel and Winterblade's Instagram channel. So just in case, we will have it in our description, but it is Winterblade Co. WINTERBLADECO, all one word. And that's how you can find him on social media. So we can still talk about this Brian stuff and really go on, but he's now starting to get a lot of experience in the OEM world, manufacturing world, the whole business in general. And he's got his family helping. They do have some temps that help with things like fulfillment, and other family members help with that. Honestly, he's really doing all this with a very skeletonized crew of family, friends, and in the rare likelihood, some folks that offer their help, right? And I think that's really cool. And really, talk about bringing a family closer together, which kind of just shows the kind of person Brian is. His wife, Jessica, does a lot of the office management, and really, they really work hard to bring us these amazing tools that he has such a knack for, if you will. And as always, I could keep going forever and ever talking about all of Brian's stuff that he's done. We could talk about some of his first prototypes, which you can see right here on the Severn and the Stealth Lock, which is this little guy right here. You've got a little piece that literally you can grab to unlock and lock the knife. Super cool. Give you a couple angles of that here. And I've actually tested this. It's actually really good with gloves on. The gloves really just snap into that area. So since the patent, his first patent on the Stealth Lock here, Brian and Winterblade have now actually applied for a lot of other patents, and we can get into all that. Honestly, I could keep going forever and ever, but I'm afraid that we're going to end up losing some of you that wanted to stay on. And honestly, I'm worried that Professor might really throw me out in the desert. So we just got through our first section, which we lovingly call Knowledge is King. Now it's time for something a little cooler, right? Let's get into the stats. Before we get into the stats, I'm sure hope we were able to teach you folks something about Winterblade, the Mirage, and Brian Winters. So let's talk about them stats, which we call Professor's Particulars, because Professor be all about them stats. All right, again, to help you know where we are, we're saying goodbye to the Knowledge is King icon. We're now welcoming the Professor's Particulars icon, and after this, there's only one icon left, the comparison icon. After that, we get to play the carryorbury game and welcome back our departed EDC family who have taken the Professor's Portal. Stat time, baby. Let's begin. Now, folks, the Mirage, which we're looking at here, features, as we spoke about, oh my goodness, where did I put it? Features, as we spoke about, the M-lock, right? Which is a magnet-driven lock, and it's fully locking. The new ultra-smooth M-lock detent. The triple shouldered blade stop pins, we talked about that. The ultra beefy 1/4-inch pivot barrel, we talked about that. But we didn't talk about was the deep carry, and I mean deep carry. That's about how much of this knife you're going to see out of your pocket. The deep carried milled titanium pocket clip. It is very cool. I really like this pocket clip. In fact, let me close the knife so I don't get cut here. You're going to love this. It actually, I mean, it easily snaps. You get that little guy in your pocket, it ain't going nowhere. This is honestly one of the best pocket clips I've ever used. Wait, Prophet, save that for the darn game. Sorry, folks. My goodness. What else do we got? So we've got full titanium scales with carbon fiber or G10 liners. So mine are going to be the G10 on this one, but you can get them with carbon fiber liners, okay? It does come with either Bowler M390 or 20 CV blade steel. I got to tell you, they're both basically the exact same steel, but they're just different brands. So basically, whatever has a ready supply, either the Bowler M390 or the 20 CV is what you'll get your Mirage in. I do also have to tell you folks a little bit about this, is if you have any questions on blade steel, if you have any questions on either the Bowler M390, 20 CV, our channel absolutely loves sending folks to none other than Doc Steel, Dr. Laren Thomas of KnifeSteelNerds.com. Again, he probably has no idea that we exist, but he is our channel's go-to for learning about blade steel, knife steel, the geometry processing, heat treatments, anything you could actually think of. He is amazing. We've got him in our description as always. Okay, I digressed again from this wonderful little Mirage. Now, not only are the carbon fiber or G10 inlays nicely done, but the pivot actually has it inside there as well, which you'll see right here. You have the nice chromed piece here, steel piece with the wonderful little pivot. And again, in your locking and unlocking mechanism here, which I think is a really nice touch. It's not only beautiful, but it actually matches everything else, and they're done really well. You also get chamfered edges on the knife, including the blade window, right? Which I really, really liked right here. They've actually chamfered these, which is very cool. Gives a lot more comfort when opening it. And yes, you can spidey flick it very easily. So it's also pretty ergo friendly. And again, it's ambidextrous locking, which means no matter which way you hold it, that M-lock will work both ways. The only issue with that is you're not going to be able to move the pocket clip, but you know, it is what it is. And then you do have a captured pivot with oversized thrust bearings for basically extra stability on that blade. And really, you do get it. When they say this is beefy, I mean, I'm putting force into I'm shaking the table, but I'm not shaking the knife. Pretty cool. All right, folks. So what about the actual specs of the knife instead of just the cool things about it, right? Well, we can share that with you too. The overall blade length on the Mirage is going to be 2.9 inches, okay? Then you're gonna have the blade edge length, so which means your cutting edge of the knife from here to here is going to be 2.75 inches or 2 3/4 inches. The handle length is gonna be from handle to bottom to top is going to be 4.1 inches, which means your overall knife is 7 inches exactly. Now, the max width that you're going to get of the knife when it's open, when the blade's deployed, is going to be at this part right here at the pivot collar part. And right there, you're going to be looking at about 1.2 inches, maybe a little bit more. When the blade is closed and it's in your pocket, your largest spot is going to be right here, and that's going to be about 1.5 inches, maybe a little less. So basically, when it's closed, you're just under 1.5 inches of max width. Now, the thickness of the actual blade, which it doesn't show on their website, so we'll go ahead and show you here on camera, is we are looking at about 115 thousandths at the top. Actually, it's less. Let me make sure we're calibrated here. 111 thou, okay? And I'm sure that's going to change depending where I am. At the very back, we're at 125 thou. So we actually have a really thin piece of steel there, which you're not going to really be upset with. I'm telling you, it is a very nice slicer. Now, the weight of this guy is about 3.3 ounces. It puts it a little over what we normally like to see, that 1 ounce to 1 inch, but it's right in there, and we'll talk about that later. So that, my friends, is going to conclude the professor's particulars, which means as you watch the icon changing, we've got one more important thing to go for before we welcome back everyone from our professor's portal and start our carryorbury game. And what is that? Well, you'll see the license plate come up really soon here. And when you do, you're going to notice that we've got a couple knives that we're going to be comparing the Mirage to. So Brandon brought over a Gerber fuse. So this is going to be one of the first knives that we're going to do. And I'm going to show Brandon how I like to show you this. And then I'm going to move and let Brandon go over the next 4 comparison knives that we have on the table. So it is time for size comparisons. And we usually have 4 knives, which we have. We're going to actually do a 5th knife today, which is what Brandon, our guest, is carrying. Then we are going to look at what we always do for our bonus knife for comparisons, and we'll look at that because that's our next week's knife. But I think it's really fair for Brandon to do this. Does that sound okay, Brandon?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So basically how I do it is, it's kind of difficult. You have a couple camera angles, right? So I really want the folks at home to be able to see the knives. Really, I'll kind of focus on this side, right? At first, make sure that they're kind of in the same spaces, but really just getting them together in multiple areas. I use this a lot, as you can see, just to kind of have a place for them to go. And, you know, I'll put them on edge next to each other, and then we'll look at that other screen right there and try to really just go through that, you know, while talking a little bit, saying how things feel. Folks, I'm going to stand up. I know you're going to be noticing different hands there that aren't as swollen because, as you remember, Mr. Brandon did not hit our switch. Brandon, why don't you go ahead and take the fuse down and put it back in your pocket so you don't lose it.
There you
Awesome.
go, Prophet.
So that, my friend, is going to be your first time touching the Winterblade Mirage. Do you have any questions before you start showing it to the other knives?
No, but I think I'd like to flick it once or twice here.
Please
so I
do.
could- Oh, that's a different action than what I'm used to.
Oh, it's all magnet assisted. Now remember, when you're trying to flick it, try to show the EDC family what you're doing. So yeah, you got to have your wrists moved a little bit.
Okay, so I'm going to pull back
You're
on.
going to pull back and flick your wrist.
And
This
just slightest
that's it.
little movement puts it
well,
right out there.
honestly, if you put it back in real quick, just push the button. Don't move your wrist. Well, do it so the knife, like hold the knife out so you're not going against gravity. It will open fully just by magnets slowly, as long as it's not trying to open with the weight of itself. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
You can close it and do it again if you'd like. Pretty cool, huh? Now, Brian does say that you can get stronger magnets in there if you want and modify it, and it will come out even faster. I don't need that because
I believe this works perfectly.
Right. I mean, look at the beautiful polishing on the spline with the Winterblade there.
You know what? I really do enjoy this. This just the lettering on the back, just smooth and nice and clean.
Absolutely.
It just says M390 Winterblade, but it's just very subtle, but I think it makes it look more
so
professional.
Brandon, why don't you I don't mean to cut you off, but let's get some comparisons. Why don't you grab the Severn right there and let's start comparing the knives while you're talking. So this is your first time holding both of those. You can make sure you're showing the people though. It's not just you.
I'm sorry about that.
It's okay.
EDC family.
Look at the left screen more because that's straight down. There you go.
All right, I gotcha. So comparatively speaking, obviously the Severn is much longer. They both weigh about the same.
Interesting. Why don't we show them the back sides of both knives? And what I really like to do, if I may, I don't mean to stick my hands in there, but to help out the EDC family, what I usually will do is I'll use this as kind of an area of where the knife tip stops.
Sure.
And I'll just lift it off of it and let them sew next to each other like that, so they can get a really good idea of it next to each other. And I'll hold it up maybe like this on both of them and just kind of hold it, you know, make sure they can see them. And just start doing that. Put them in different areas. Close the blades. Put them next to each other that way.
You know what I also like is it just feels like quality between both of them. It doesn't feel like the $30 Menards blade
That you were just holding.
that I was just holding. It actually makes you feel like you have something special in your hands. And just looking at both of these, feeling both of these, they both feel like really special knives.
Let's take a look at the Factor next to the Mirage. You can go ahead and put, yep, there you go.
So they both are just about the same size. The weight almost identical. Have a very similar profile except for the blade, obviously.
Right.
They both have the same magnetic lock, but I do see that this Factor has an extra feature.
Yep.
And
extra opening feature.
Extra opening feature. It is very smooth, very nice. And the blade falls a little quicker.
Camera again. It's tough, huh?
It is.
It's good
it
to
is
have
tough.
a guest here.
You know, I'm looking at the knives. I should be looking at the screen.
It's really, it's not fun playing with knives under a screen. I used to listen to Nick Shabazz. I don't know if you've ever watched his stuff. He's one of my favorite YouTubers. And Nick would always talk about, he actually does disassemblies under the camera.
Oh my gosh.
I've tried to do it a few times. Yeah. God bless Mr. Nick Shabazz. Shout out to Nick Shabazz.
But I do love, I mean, the look of both of them is fantastic.
Now we're going to do a comparison to the Spyderco PM3, which is that one right there. The reason is a lot of folks out there own the PM3, and I want them to see what the size looks like between these two. You'll want to kind of make sure that, yep, there you go.
Just all the way lined up, tips lined up here. They are, again, very similar in size.
I mean, even the cutting geometry on the two knives is pretty similar.
They do have a very similar blade profile. And this one just has the lock release here.
That's a compression lock.
Compression lock, and this flip out blade. Nothing wrong with the action on that, really. Now, I would imagine that this is probably a plastic handle.
That is called FRN. It's a
FRN.
lightweight composite material.
Okay, composite. Compared to the titanium, I think there.
It's titanium with G10 liners.
G10 liners. Now, obviously, Spyderco is very popular.
Absolutely.
Been around for years. People love to carry them. I've got little fingerprints on there.
There you go. Look at you turning into a YouTuber overnight. I love it. I got to say, we love having you out on the compound, Brandon.
Love being here. Now, both of these knives, neither one that I would be ashamed to carry.
Not at all.
Now, I do see the next knife you have up there for comparison.
You sure do, and I brought that up for a reason. That was the first comment you made on our videos.
Yes, it is. And I do love this knife. I've actually had one before. I misplaced it, but I got another one right after your video. It reminded me of that knife, and honestly...
What color did you get?
I got the black with the black blade.
Nice.
But this knife feels very solid. It is a little large. But, you know, if you were at work and carrying a knife and you happen to break it, put it in the water, submerge it forever, you're not heartbroken about it, you know, but it is, for the money, I believe, one of the better knives I've ever had in the sub $100 area.
What you may be surprised in, and we, of course, you've seen a little bit of our collection being out here today, but I have bigger hands, so a lot of my knives are the larger versions, like the large Sebenza, the large Inkoski, and the Rat 1. Did you know that company, Ontario, makes a Rat 2 that's a lot more shorter and a lot more kind of available for hands like yours?
I did see that, and when I was buying the second Rat 1, that they did have the Rat 2, but I do like the larger knife sometimes, especially at work. Okay. You know, it's not always going to be something dainty that I'm cutting.
I gotcha. Heck, I get it. Now, would you feel comfortable knowing that Rat 1's kind of made for hard work, and then now feeling the Mirage in your hand? Would you feel that the Mirage would be more than capable of handling all those jobs?
Actually, yes. When holding it, it's just solid.
Yep.
You know, there's no deflection in the blade. The frame is very. There's nothing rattling in there. You know.
It's very robust.
Yes, it is. So no, I wouldn't have a problem cutting this, carrying it to work. I would be heartbroken if I were to lose this at work. You know, comparatively speaking.
Gotcha. Well, now, Brandon, what we do, and you've probably seen this, right, on our videos, is we actually also like to show the knife we're going to be reviewing next week. And so what that is going to be is that little guy right over there. This is the Grimsmo Norseman, and we talked about it a little bit earlier. But if you want to do a size comparison next to the Mirage, as is customary on our channel.
That is a monster compared.
That's almost comical to see.
Now, this is not knowing much about the Norseman, Grimsmo. It feels probably like a tiny bit more expensive knife.
Well, yeah, you're feeling, if I really could pick a word for it, what really describes the Grimsmo brand, John and Eric, is really their dedication to tolerances. And I'm not saying that Winterblade has bad tolerances, but we're talking John and Eric run their own shop up in Canada, just north of us here. And Brandon, they really have an amazing YouTube channel. I'd love for you to look at it one day. But they develop everything from their own screws, and they do everything in-house. And when I say they have a commitment to excellence, it is amazing what they go through for quality control on these knives and pens that they make.
Well, I can certainly tell you I do love this knife.
It's a pretty cool knife.
That is a very cool knife. But I would say that I really do love this knife as well.
Now, Brandon, if you don't mind, while you're playing with the Mirage there for the viewers and giving them some different looks, you can put the Grimsmo away. And we can actually welcome the viewers back together. Does that sound fun?
Yes, it does.
All right. So you can go ahead and play while I talk, if that's all right.
Certainly.
Well, it may be time to welcome back our EDC family that has taken our very own Professor's Portal. As you folks will notice, the comparison license plate will be disappearing, which is the end of our 3 segments. Then we are now going to welcome back our viewers. Welcome back to all the viewers that took the Professor's Portal. It's good to have you back. And it's a good time for you to be back because for all my fellow knife nerds that stayed, and for all my fellow nerds that didn't really have the time to stay, which we're okay with, we want to do something a little cool today. So before we get into the game, we have another first, okay? So we'll quickly talk about the game, and then we're going to talk about another new first.
Another new first.
That sounds fair. So let's quick do a review of how Corb works. Now, we review the positives and negatives of the knife. We do have a new video that might be launched before this gets launched that has a better explanation on how the game works. When we started, we made our video labeled 001. It was okay, but we've gotten a lot better at making content and we've changed some of the rules. There is going to be a new video labeled 001 and it might be called Remix or something like that. We'll see, but it'll be the way that we play the game. Now, again, we have 4 positives, which we lovingly call, do you remember, Brandon, what we call our positives?
Pockets.
Yep, but they're called the needs.
The needs.
But that's, hey, I'll take it. And then what do we call our negatives?
The nails.
So Brandon, that way we've got the needs and we've got the nails, which are the pockets, right?
Right.
And the nails. Now, once we get to, we always start with the positives. If we get to 4 positives on the needs, do we keep going?
No, we stop and talk about some of the nails.
That's right. Then we see if there are any negatives or nails. And if we get to 4 of those, do we stop?
We stop there.
And what do we have after that?
We have a tiebreaker.
My goodness. Brandon, do you know what happens if a item that we review, we do not recommend? What do we do with it?
Gets in the coffin.
Why don't you pick that little buddy up and show the people on camera? So, are you saying that if we don't recommend something, we pop it in one of these toy coffins?
Yes, we do. Then we bury it in the backyard of the compound.
And did I take you back on the back part of the property and show you
Yes,
where they're really buried, aren't they?
There's a few little dirt spots with little headstones. You know, you were very detailed in with your headstones. It was kind of cool.
We like to have fun here. I tell you, did you notice the 2 holes? I had to dig a couple up for our video that we just did.
Yes.
Oh man, I tell you. At any rate, folks, that's how the game works. So again, welcome back. Thanks for dealing with our slower moving time on our content today because we have a guest in studio. But Brandon, one more thing. We're going to have another change today, and I didn't talk to you about this one. So what I'd really like you to do is if you would just take a look at the teleprompter and read that next line.
Brandon gets to keep and bring home this Winterblade Mirage courtesy of carryorbury. Are you serious?
You don't even sound that surprised.
No, come on, man. This is not, it's definitely not a Menards knife, and that is super surprising. I really have no idea what to say. I'm beside myself.
I can actually see that. It's funny because when you first were reading it, I don't know if I was like, God, he doesn't sound surprised.
Well, I was a little, I wanted to make sure I didn't mess up reading it, and I had to process it because it is a surprise.
All right, so your box to the Mirage is actually right over there, and you can go ahead and put the knife in there. You can clean it up if you want to. I don't know if you can probably just put it in your check luggage, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I will put it next to the other one that actually I wouldn't mind if I left here if you needed it for something in the future, but
not at all. We're going to be okay because that's what our next first was going to be. It's not a first that we're giving something out. By the way, if Dane Grovlowski is watching, I did not get a chance to send you your care package this weekend, my brother, but I will send it next weekend. And you will be getting it soon. Thank you for your patience. Dane is another fantastic subscriber.
Goodness.
We love him a lot here on the channel.
I'm sorry.
No,
you wanted
go
me
ahead.
to put this away, but you still have the
needs and
game.
nails. But
Yes.
that's okay, Brandon, because what you didn't see on the teleprompter is if you want to hit that. Yeah, there you go. God, you are really a natural at this, bud. So therefore, EDC family, normally when a knife we have gets buried, we bury it in the backyard. Or if it gets carried, we carry it more and we tell all you that it's a good thing to buy, right? However, what we could do is send Brandon home with a toy coffin, but Brandon...
Well, you can send me home with a toy coffin if you want. It's not going in the ground.
That's kind of what I thought.
This is a fantastic knife, and even with or without your recommendation, I will carry this proudly.
That's awesome, man. I'm sorry. Folks, you can probably tell from home that a lot of this is not scripted, and I tried to make this a big surprise, and it's really there's a lot of laughter and smiles going on right now behind the camera, and you're actually catching a pretty real moment right here. What I will say is you heard Brandon. He's definitely not going to want to take a coffin home. Professor thought you might want one, but I told him there's no way if we tell him to bury it, he's going to bury it. But I digress, right? So folks, the other first isn't that we're giving away something. It's that we're going to do the needs and nails without Brandon in studio, so I can go through them with you in the normal way, and we can kind of go through that together. Okay, EDC family, we are going to be doing things just a little bit different here. Normally, we have the knife that we are recommending or not recommending, playing our carryorbury game with right here at the table. However, that is not going to be possible. So I think one of the fair things to do would be to grab a couple other Winterblade items and just kind of play with them for your viewing pleasure while we talk about the needs and nails for the Mirage. Now, it may be possible for the professor to put maybe a little Mirage, I don't know, icon somewhere. I'm not really sure what he'll do. I don't even know if it's something he can do, so you may not even be hearing this. But for the sake of our EDC family, if Professor would be so kind to put the knife we're actually reviewing somewhere up here, that way we can take a peek at it. And just remember, during the carryorbury game, the knives that I'm playing with are not the knives that are going to be in our carryorbury game. In fact, the Factor has already been through our carryorbury game. That is this guy right here. And guess what? We said carry. We recommended this knife. So with that being said, we are going to just play with some knives, let you take a peek at them, let you hear them while we go through our carry-or-bury game for the Mirage, which is now really a Mirage to me, right? Because it's in Florida. At any rate, the Mirage, not these knives. Number one need is going to be the blade. Wait, you probably want more, right, EDC family? Yeah, that's fine. So I know what you hear when you hear me say, or you may think you hear when I say, you know what, dude, Prophet, calm down. Well, let me just say this. All jokes aside for the moment, I have purchased, collected, and used daily a multitude of EDC knives. I can't remember a time in the last 6 or 7 years when I didn't have a knife on me, where I wasn't watching YouTube videos on knives or other EDC products, when I wasn't studying steels like Knife Steel Nerds, Dr. Laren Thomas. Honestly, really honestly, I can't remember a time in that time period when I wasn't really becoming somewhat of a knife nerd. But with all of that, you would not believe how many knives fall short on the actual blade. You honestly wouldn't even believe it, but it happens all the time. Seriously, it's almost scary. The blade on the Mirage, however, it has a fantastic point. It's a wonderful slicer, and it comes down to a very thin edge. Like so many enthusiasts of this wonderful community, I can't state how much I love when you pick up a pocket knife and you give it the tasks that it's made and it works. Honestly, it's fantastic, and the Mirage really passed all of my blade tests. Well, kind of like they say on Forged on Fire, right? It will kill, but we're just going to say that darn thing. The Mirage, it will cut, because it does, and it does a great job on that. So yeah, blade. That, my friends, is the second pocket. The details is what we're naming this one. What do you mean by details? Well, one thing that you cannot say about Winterblade is that they don't give you options and design time in their processes, right? Although being a small company and family operated at that, making sure that the designs have the details that a good knife would have is pretty darn cool. Prophet, what do you mean by details? Now, obviously, as I said, we've sent the Mirage to Florida, so I don't have it in my hands, but take a peek at some of the earlier footage or take a look at the little icon of the Mirage Professor put on the screen. I hope you can see that although my particular Mirage has the G10, not the carbon fiber, that's also an option, by the way, it flows not just through the scales in the handle, but also in the little areas inside the pivot collar, inside the blade release. Honestly, and then going back to the handle, most companies really just basically sandwich their liners. And what I mean by that is take a look at the rat here. Now, again, this isn't a bad thing, right? But you have your G10 on top, okay? And then you have your steel liners, okay? And those steel liners are right underneath right here. And yeah, does it look cool? Yeah, it really does. Depending on which way you're looking at the knife, it does give it another element of, of sophistication, if you will. But Winterblade does something a little bit different. This is not the Mirage, but the collar, the pivot collar right here, it has that G10 inside of it, which is really cool. And then on the blade release, which you'll see on the picture of the Mirage, has it there as well. But the Mirage takes it even a step further. And when it's using liners, not unlike the liners you're seeing here, they're using either the carbon fiber or the G10 liners, they actually help them protrude a little bit out. So you're seeing the sandwich still, but you can see it from the face of the knife. Bravo. The details. And then not to mention the chamfering that you get in the blade window, the way that they try to give it the best ergonomics, although it gives it that really cool look and beefiness. They did a great job. That, my friends, was number 2. Yeah, there it is. Another sound of a need. Folks, we just kind of gave it away when I said beefy. Number 3, we're going to call it beef. So Professor and I, we put the Mirage through a variety of tests. Honest to goodness, both the Professor and I, we took it around the property, did various jobs with it around the property, from fencing stuff all the way to stuff out at the shed, or even way out at the back portion where we have some other stuff. We took it on some larger plumbing jobs. The Mirage was cutting through thick tubes comfortably. It never dulled on us, no chips, no issues, and we never had to tighten anything up. And if you've been a pocket knife owner, especially on a flip knife, you may know that when you use it really hard, you'll have some issues with that, but none with this. And realistically, I'm going to be really honest with you guys. Not that we wouldn't be, right? But this might void my warranty on the Mirage or Brandon's, but we even batoned with this thing. And we were splitting firewood with it. No issues, no problems, no loose blade when it was done. That darn thing held up like you wouldn't believe. Bravo on the beefiness of the Mirage. Okay, let's move on. There it is, the fourth need. Ingenuity is what we're going to call this one. Now, you may all say, Prophet, we get it. You have a special place in your heart for Winterblade knives. Yeah, I admit it, I do. But I'm also a person who has started a lot of companies in my life, and this YouTube channel being one of them, right? And I will say that although I've had minor successes, I have a lot of understanding what running small companies is like. And what Brian and his family are doing with Winterblade, it's amazing to me. When you look at companies that do designs well, they usually have big teams. They have big offices. They have a lot of inner working stuff going on inside the office. They're putting it all together as a large, huge team, not Winterblade. Although you could imagine how difficult it would be to start a new company, especially one that has had the success that Winterblade has already had. Is that stopping Brian and his family from upping their game? New innovations? No problem. New trademarks? Yeah, let's do that. New patents? Of course, why not? Let's do all of that. Seriously, I can't really say that I would be able to have that sort of success so quickly at that level and still find a way to make things fresh, new, and fun. We absolutely applaud the ingenuity of Winterblade, and you can say that I'm a fanboy, but honestly, you go and take a look at the batch stuff coming up even for the Mirage, you're going to have lots of beautiful options. Brandon just brought this very knife, this Fuse by Gerber, here on the compound. And we were laughing because we both had the exact same knife. I'm not even just talking about the color scheme, because yes, that's right. But right down to the very stickiness of, getting the knife to come out, the difficultness that you kind of have of grabbing the locking mechanism there to get it closed. But out of all the folks in the world, we've only have, at the time of this recording, 155 subscribers. Now, Brandon being one of them, and him and I both had this very knife in this very color configuration. I'm not saying that, we couldn't see more of these, right? But I've never actually even seen a Fuse in a different color combination. Winterblade is a much smaller company than Gerber, much smaller. Yet, somehow, he finds all of this ingenuity to give you all these blade steel options, color options. It's just really cool. Even moving away from magnets so much as you see, right? And I know this doesn't really relate to the Mirage, but Brian's claim to fame was his magnetic knives, right? And now all of a sudden you see this new patent pending baby, the Severn. And yeah, is there a cute little magnetic feature? Absolutely. But really, this is not a magnetic knife. This is using one of his new patents, which is the Stealth Lock. I don't want to make this about the Severn. We are carrying this a lot, so we will have a video of that coming up. And I don't want to make this about the Factor. So let's finish up with, never mind. Professor is telling me we just hit 4. So that's done, right? I mean, heck, we got to 4 quickly again. Okay, there's obviously great qualities on the Mirage. But Prophet, are there any negatives? Can we add to this scale of balance? Before we find out, let's take a quick second and go over our needs again, or our positives for those of you who are new, shall we? So, if you remember, the first one, we talked about the blade on the Mirage. Slicey, sharp, very able. We loved the blade, loved it. Number 2, we talked about the details. The availability of different options on the knife, the chamfering that was done on the knife, just all those little things that some people don't think about. Then, number 3, we talked about the beefiness. We were outside batoning wood with that. Sorry, Brian, but we were. Is what it is. But the knife held up fantastically, no issues. 4, we talked about the ingenuity, not just of the Mirage with its M-lock and its patented capabilities, but we also, or its magnetic movements, right? But we also talked about the ingenuity of the company as well. That got us to our 4 positives. So, recap aside, oh, darn it, man, he really wants me to move along, doesn't he? So, that noise that you just heard was the nail drop. So, let's take a peek and see what the first nail of the Mirage is. Again, not these 2 knives. 1, availability. Guys, I get it. I hear what you're saying. Profit, that has nothing to do with the actual knife. Okay, fair point. This is where I respectfully disagree. Although I can easily give Winterblade the nod of understanding for this, it's still an issue, right? And they really do what they can to get knives to us. Brian's got a very big product line already, being a new company. And he is subject to availability of steels, availability to parts. There's a lot of things that are not in his control, not in Winterblade's control. But I will also say that still can be difficult for us, right? Because availability is something where if a knife makes it through our testing and I say, you know what, I recommend this knife to you, well, then you can't buy the knife. That has to be included in this mathematical problem of recommendations, I believe. And you may disagree with that, but that's okay, right? That's what's beautiful about America. That's what's beautiful about the world, is we can have these disagreements and have these talks. And I can see your point, EDC family. It's just not mine. If I'm sitting here going to review this knife and going to offer it as something, I want it to be something that I can be proud of. Okay, not this knife, obviously, the Mirage, which that was a nail sound, and that brings us to number 2. Well, we talked about availability, so then comes the knife of pirates, right? And remember, at Carrier Bury, we just say no to knife pirates. Let's see if we can get that on camera here. Oh, we got lots of lights on, don't we? No knife pirates. All right. Sorry about that, folks. Just reminding you that that's a coin here. So, just like in the first nail, I get it. Again, this has nothing to do with the actual knife. But remember, it's my opinion. Folks, I pour through Reddit. I go to bladeforums.com. I am constantly reviewing what other people think of the things that I'm looking at as well. And even more so, right? So, to the people that want to buy a Winterblade knife that can't get it because of the availability, well, guess what? They're going to go look for it. I did. They're going to go to places like eBay and other third-party sites, and there is a very good chance that someone else is going to take advantage of that. And that someone else is going to very much make you pay an exorbitant amount for the product you're looking for. But do you see where I'm going with that? Perception is key in these. And Nick Shabazz does a really, really great video. I'm going to have to look for it and link it in the description if I can. But he talks about, how things are worth. And gosh, you know what? We're just going to link it in the description. We're going to stop there. Now, I digress again, as always, but that's why we at this channel say no to knife pirates. There are some good places where you can go to. Heck, go to Winterblade Co.'s Instagram. Go check out bladeforums.com. I would hope that you would find someone in the EDC community that would give you a very fair price or even a trade, right, for one of those knives. That noise, that third nail noise snuck up on me. Okay, I get it. This one is always something that I'm looking at. You may not, but I do. The balance of the Mirage is a bit low for me. I have big hands, so when a knife is balancing very far down, it makes it really hard for me to do it for lighter, more detailed work. So if I'm going to be doing any carving or whittling or anything like that, I need more of a balanced knife in my hand. And even when we were batoning, there was a few times when I would be trying to pull the knife out and it was already out, but I'd keep pulling and I was already at a pretty good distance. I just, and I know that the Mirage is not made for batoning, although it does have a lower area of balance. And I assume that's due to the magnets. They can't help, and all that extra beefiness that's in the spine. I get it. And I may be nitpicking, but remember, This is my opinion. We're here to try to just tell you everything that we found with it, right? Number 4, now this one may just be me. But as someone who continuously purchased knives over $300, okay, and more, one of the biggest reasons that I got into these higher price knives, and we got into these, is because of the really beautiful things that people were doing with blade steels. Now, the Mirage is an M390. Oh, it may also be in 20 CV. They're the same steel. I digress. But the new Severin here, this is in Magna Cut, and there is no Magna Cut on it. Now, there is a big Winterblade right here, but there's nothing that states that it's Magna Cut. And there was several different steel options, I think 4 on the Severin. So it would be nice for me to see what it is. But I even look back to the Factor, and you've got the M390 right there. So it wasn't on the Mirage, was on the Factor, is not on the Severin. I would have loved to see that blade steel on there. I really do. There's just something about, no matter what knife you're holding, being able to look at the knife and figuring out, oh, okay, this is CPM Spy 27 on this Spyderco here. And to be able to have that quickly, have that knowledge. And even on these budget knives, you pick up the Rat 1 right there, Model 1 D2. It's right there for everyone to see, and it's nice and easy. Now, when you're talking about Winterblade, especially a knife as beefy as the Mirage and as built to last as the Mirage, since it's magnets locking up and not steel on steel, there's really no telling how many years that knife is going to last, which means that knife could be passed down from family member to family member to family member potentially. Seriously, magnets last hundreds of years. Steel on steel is something that can go away and easily in a lifetime or less. Now, for something like that, if my great 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 grandchild has got a knife that I've kept for my lineage, it'd be nice for them to know what great 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 grandpa bought for blade steel. Now, I digress. We can keep going on that. I just would like to see Winterblade put their blade steels on all of their knives. Whew. Oh my God, we got to 4 again really quickly. And I know when we have Winterblade knives up here, you all tease me that I have to try really, really hard to find the 4 nails. Let me remind you, maybe quickly or not, we always do our best to find honest things for our reviews. We really use and carry these knives, even the Mirage. We buy them ourselves. These knives were not given to me by Winterblade. No one tells us what to say, and some folks probably don't agree with everything that we do or say. In fact, one of my favorite subscribers, Dane Gravlowski, him and I just had a conversation about something he didn't agree with on the Spyderco, I believe it was. I'd have to go back and look at it. But I 100% understand where Dane's coming from on that. I really do. And I thought it was a very, very wonderful topic to have one day on the channel. But remember, these are our opinions, and that's a rabbit hole we're not going to go down today. Okay? All right. So with that being said, we are at 4 needs and 4 nails. That, my friends, is a tie. So let's quick throw them back up on the screen, Mr. Professor, and let's see what those were one more time. That way we can recap and build a little suspense here. Number 1, for the positives or the needs, the blade of the Mirage. Number 2, the details. Number 3, the beefiness of the Mirage. Number 4, the ingenuity of the Mirage. Let's go through the nails one more time, folks. Number 1, the availability. The availability is tough on these, right? Number 2, knife pirates. It's kind of bugging me here. Let me get that straight. Number 3, the balance was a little low for my liking on the Mirage. Number 4, the blade steel ID missing from the blade. Again, we got to 4 and 4. So with that aside, I know you're all waiting as usual for me to fumble through the revelation here. Keep in mind that the Mirage will launch soon, and if I don't get you through this desert of a review, you may start seeing tons of Mirages and not know which one's a knife. Oh, you know what? Look at, you heard that. Professor really wants me to stop, so I'm going to stop. That's a need sound, folks. The number 5 need on the Mirage is Brian Winters. I kind of was quiet there on purpose, right? So normally in the nails, I have personal situations about their warranty. That's usually in the negative area, which ultimately is basically a complaint that I have about a situation, the maker, a company, something with warranty or servicing. And that is something that can really irritate me, right? And it can irritate other folks because it may not always be about the item we're reviewing, but it really can be included in this whole reviewing process, right? So I guess my customer service background has a bit of a hold on me here. I disagree with the folks that don't feel that this is an important thing to consider when choosing a knife or a piece of any EDC product. All right, let me just give you an example. I first seen a Winterblade knife on Nick Shabazz's channel, and immediately I was drawn to it. It was so cool. I immediately tried to fumble through Instagram, which I was not good at. Still am not, all things considered. But I tried to get a hold of one of these knives, and I was told that, hey, we're going to be doing a release, up the road here. I was so excited for it. I started seeing other reviewers reviewing the Factor, Metal Complex. It was really cool to start to see it. I was getting really excited. The day that it got released, I forget if it was like 6 or 7 p.m. that night. I was right online at the right time. I drove my motorcycle to work. I was driving home from work and I had to stop in a overpass area. And I pulled in because I was not about to miss this. And heck, I got in, I got the knife in my cart. I picked the one I wanted, got it in my cart, went to check out, and it said, sorry, we are experiencing technical difficulties. Do not back out of this or you will lose your place in line. So I sat there with my cell phone under that overpass for probably an hour and a half before a police officer came up, and I had to explain myself to him. Then I had to drive my motorcycle home, got home, and then I spent another 3 hours in hopes that it would go through. I even took Professor's phone and took a video, probably 25, 30-minute long video of what it was saying, blah, blah, blah. Well, suffice it to say, to try to keep this short, I ended up hitting refresh out of frustration and they were all sold out. I didn't get one of the first Factors. Acted like a child, folks. I acted like a child. I mean, for that, I apologize. I had a very large moment of weakness. It shows the passion that we have on, these knives. But what's really kind of fun about the story is that Brian knew nothing about this. And what happened is I wanted to forget about the Factor. I wanted to forget all about Winterblade. I'm never going to buy a Winterblade knife. I sent an email to them about it, and they never got back to me. And like a child, I boycotted Winterblade. Don't want nothing to do with them. I can't believe a fellow Minnesotan wouldn't get back to me. I can't believe that, the computer would say all this time that this is in your cart, you're going to get it. And then all of a sudden I didn't. That seems like that person had control of it. What ended up happening is I calmed down, and years later, when I started seeing the next batch of Factors being ready and then being sold, and I didn't even jump on to try. So I went on to eBay, and they were selling for stupid amounts of money. And then I remembered I don't want to be a part of that, right? So I went onto Blade forums and I bought this very Factor you see right here. I was so excited about it. I brought it home. I opened it up and wanted to see how it worked. And I broke 4 of the magnets right away. So what does one do when they break a bunch of magnets? Well, you reach out to the manufacturer and talk to them, right? Well, but remember, manufacturer slighted me. I'm not going to do that. Well, I swallowed my tongue, reached out to Brian. He did get my email. He did respond. He didn't even care about any of the old stuff that happened. Honestly, he didn't know about it or care about it. His only want was to help me get my Factor fixed. It was mind-blowing at how long I held anger over something, over someone, over a company that didn't do anything. It really helped me wake up. Obviously, we all grow over the years, and there's always things we're not proud of. I'm not proud of how I treated Winterblade, or how, I guess when I say treated, I put one comment out there that was icky, and I wrote an email that was angry that they never even read. Okay, fine. But I still did that, and I still hope that I didn't take 1 or 2 people away from Brian or Winterblade, because I'll tell you this, I have never in my life been treated as well as I have from Winterblade about any question I have. This is something that we look at a company like Winterblade and the Mirage that we no longer have, and we say, not just buy them, be happy with them, because not only are they exceptional tools, there's a variety of colors, variety of accessories. We even have new pocket clips for the Severn that I have to get on. I got to get online. At any rate, you got to check out Winterblade, folks. Give them a chance. You won't be disappointed, because when I think of what above and beyond is in this industry, especially in knives or EDC, you think about Brian Winters. And I've heard stories of a lot of the knife grades, and we've had some knives on our channel. We've talked about some of these people, but there's a reason why I get so passionate about this. And I've grown so much, not only as a human being or as a Christian, but as a member of the community. When you're dealing with everyday carry items, you're dealing with responsibilities, you're dealing with things that are helpful, they're tools, but there are also some things that can come in handy to protect you at some point, or really get you out of a jam. And to know that there's a company that backs their products like Winterblade, there's no other place in the world we'd rather be than the EDC family. And I know I really got away with this one, and I always do, but this one I might have a little bit more on. I just have so much respect for Winterblade. I have so much love for their products. I can't wait to give this guy a full review, to be honest with you. I've been carrying it, and it's the first knife in a long time that I can remember that while I'm carrying it, if I get like a snail trail on it or something, normally, I don't care. These knives are tools, but I actually got a buff right here on the front of this knife, and I got upset. I digress again. Winterblade may not be for all of you, but honestly, Professor and I will say with a smile and with all certainty that we're proud to carry Winterblade knives. I look forward to what they will think up next, and we will give it a fair shake. And if a Winterblade knife isn't for us, we will tell you. I'm not just saying that. We will. So, hitting refresh on a computer or relying on an aftermarket sales company may not be for you, right? You might not want to go through those things. Well, get on there though. Give it a shot, because if you can come up with one of these, you'll be happy. So, this knife, wherever Professor put it, will not be buried here on our compound, nor in the desert, and I would highly doubt that it will be buried in Florida, where the Mirage now resides. Brandon, enjoy the Mirage. We were blessed to be able to be in a position to gift that to you, and I hope that it brings you as much joy as it's brought us. Here at Carrier Bury, we approve the Winterblade Mirage, and we've already approved the Factor. The Severn, you'll have to wait to see. But we hope that you will get your hands on one of the Mirages coming up very soon. About our knife today and all others that we've had on our channel, remember guys, we're YouTubers, we're not lawyers. You should never get legal advice from anyone that isn't a professional, okay? So look into and know about your local knife laws. If we're recommending a knife, don't just go out and buy it. Make sure that you can own it, that you can carry it. Make sure before you do so by, again, talking to a professional. You can also look into and know about your local knife laws. Not sure how? Guess what? It doesn't hurt to visit, and if at all possible, to support atki.org. They are the American Tool and Knife Institute, and they are on the front lines helping us keep our freedoms and our rights. So, also, if your hands and fingers are not sticky from wax or ice cream out in the summertime or in carbonite, you should be able to easily find us online. How do you do that? Remember, we're not social media experts, EDC family. We are not. We would like to learn, right? So perhaps we will be eventually with your help. And you can do that easily by visiting your favorite social media app or website. Then type with all one word at Carry or Bury. We would also love to see what's in your pockets, right? It would be awesome. We would also love to hear you tell us what type of knife that you want us to review or other EDC item. I promise we will review other EDC items. We just have so many darn knives. We would also like to hear from you, even simply just telling us what knives or gear that you like. Again, remember, if you ever want any cards or any chamois, just EM us. We will, that's a dirty one. You can see all that, my goodness. Any chamois, you can visit us, or stickers. We have lanyards coming too. Just let us know. Dane, we are waiting on one thing, and we are going to send your gift to you. I can't wait for you to get it. Don't forget to carry us with you by clicking and subscribing, right? And by also turning on those notifications. Now, it also really helps if you hammer that like button like it's a nail in a coffin, right? Okay, I'll stop. With your help, folks, we will be the most prepared family on YouTube and beyond. The one and only EDC family. Until next time. Wait a minute. I think that Brandon actually did the ending for us. Did he not, Professor? I'm pretty sure everybody's sick of hearing my voice, bud. Let's bring in Brandon from Florida, the new owner of the Mirage.
Until next time, EDC family, keep those blades sharp, keep your flashlights charged, and keep those band-aids close. Remember, you are the best tool in your daily EDC loadout. God bless, and see you next time.
Thanks, Brandon. Thanks for coming. Hey, enjoy the Mirage.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hey, it's my pleasure. God bless, brother. Bye, EDC family.
Bye.